Some of the more sceptical amongst us may deny and refute the existence of miracles, whilst others wholeheartedly believe in a helping hand from the universe, a religious saviour, or even a loved one from beyond the grave when we most need this help. Whilst these events may be considered confusing or exciting, the majority of those on the receiving end of these marvels often describe a feeling of relief. Without a clear scientific or factual explanation, these phenomena frequently become the subject of retellings and study, as we try and unpick a truth that may not be there. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 miracle stories. Helped by an entity. In 1980, single mother Deb was driving home from her parents, having collected her 2 infant children whom they had taken care of for the day, when she claims the family were pushed to safety by an angel. In San Bernardino County, California, Deb and her 2 children were heading home after a long day at 11:30 p.m. Unsurprisingly, considering the late hour, both the babies were sleeping in the back seat of the car. Deb drove a car that she herself dubbed an old clunker, and the car had plenty of problems to have earned this name. One of the most notable issues was the fuel gauge. This was broken, therefore Deb had to keep an estimated guess as to how much gas was left. Though, as you would expect, this wasn't always the most precise. This was one of those circumstances. Deb said that halfway home the car started to sputter. Her next course of action was to pull off as soon as possible, though this ramp was slightly uphill. The incline certainly didn't help her car in its losing battle, and the car gave in just shy of the hilltop. Deb and her children were stranded. The roads were quiet, in part due to the late hour and a lack of traffic, though the surroundings themselves did not help. Deb described the scene as there being nothing around but empty fields and distant lights. She did know, however, that there was a service station nearby, roughly 0.25 miles away. The problem was getting there. With no cars around to ask and, being in the 80s, we didn't all have a phone in our pocket to give a friend or service a ring, Deb seemed as though she was stuck. Walking a quarter of a mile with a baby in each arm was not a viable option. I put my head on the steering wheel while saying a short and panicky prayer, Deb said, as she recounted the events of the night. During this prayer, a stranger tapped on the car window. Deb described the man as clean-cut, at a guess 21 years old, well-dressed and smelling of soap. He prompted her to unroll the window and instructed her to put the car in neutral and steer, as he pushed the car up the hill. Following his directions, Deb got to the service station where she filled up her car and made it safely home. She couldn't see the man once they'd reached the top of the hill, but shouted a thank you nonetheless. Best of all, the little ones didn't miss a second of sleep throughout the ordeal. Thinking back, Deb mentioned how typically, in a scenario like this, she'd expect to be nervous and afraid. She didn't feel any fear of any kind, but rather thankfulness and relief at the help of a stranger. Deb thinks of this man as an angel and believes she has met many more since then. Her belief is that when we encounter an angel, we do not question them, we simply trust their aid and that their intentions are good. She describes the possibility that angels can take all shapes and sizes, young and old. Deb concludes stating that, "I've always trusted in God to take care of us, but in retelling that story many times to my children, who are now 30 and 32, they know for a fact that angels do exist and are sent to us if we just believe." The Angel Nurse. This is a story of a miracle told by the mother of an ill child. The message, she says, was sent to her by an angel. In 1998, Luke, an 8-year-old boy, was diagnosed with cancer of the bone. While his recovery was not linear, he made steady, positive progress until he developed an infection. He stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, struggling with the fight against his infection, with his mother staying at his bedside throughout. Whilst he slept, she prayed and spoke to the Lord. One night during her prayers, a nurse entered the room to run a routine temperature check. Luke's mother felt there was something indescribably odd about the nurse. Though one notable distinction between her and other nurses was her uniform, which was an outdated nurse's uniform one you'd expect to see in the 60s, 3 decades prior. The nurse made polite conversation, commenting on the Bible on Luke's bedside, saying she too was Christian and so would pray for Luke's healing. This religious sentiment, coupled with the lack of a modern uniform compared to the other staff, has led Luke's mum to draw the conclusion that this nurse was an angel. Luke was 19, cancer-free and in good health. He retold this story, explaining how, not long after the visit from the nurse, he came out of the hospital fully healed of the infection. The pair are both in agreement that the nurse was a guardian angel, sent to watch over and protect Luke, but also to provide his mother with hope and reassurance. Luke says he believes this is the only explanation as to the nurse's unusual attire. Officers hear a voice. On Saturday, 8th of March 2015, 4 officers heard a woman's voice softly calling for help, which, when the officers converged on this sound, led them to a car wreck, with a deceased mother who had been driving and an infant alive in the back of the vehicle. The mysterious circumstances have left many claiming the bizarre event is a miracle, and many suggesting the mother called out to protect her daughter from beyond the grave. Lynn Grosbeck, 25 years old, was driving in Utah, USA, when she lost control of the car and crashed into the Spanish Fork River one Friday night. How the accident itself happened remains a mystery. Inspection of the car and the road suggest that there was no mechanical failures, and that there were no skid marks on the road. The assumption is that Grosbeck hit a cement barrier, causing her to lose control of the car. Professionals do not believe that Grosbeck was under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time of the accident. The next day, 14 hours after the incident, fishermen saw the red Dodge sedan partially submerged in the river. The time of the accident was estimated to be 12:30 p.m. on the Friday, but the pair were found on Saturday, March 8th at 10:30 a.m. Lynn, mother to Lily, who was also in this accident, was declared deceased the night of the incident itself, and couldn't possibly have been behind the mysterious woman's voice. The first responders on the scene were police officers Tyler Beddoes and Jared Warner, as well as firefighters Lee Meacham and Paul Tomadakis. The 4 officers all reported hearing a woman's voice crying for help. When they approached and flipped the car, they discovered Lynn, who had passed away. However, beside her alive was baby daughter Lily. The officers remained perplexed as to how this voice was heard, though after conferring with one another, the officers each confirmed having heard the soft but desperate voice of a woman calling for help and rescue. Spanish Fork police officer Tyler Beddoes offered his own comment, saying, "For 2 nights I've laid awake trying to figure out exactly what it could be. All I know is it was there. It was real. We all heard it." Beddoes went on to imply that his own interpretation of this event was that the team had witnessed a miracle, a mother protecting and saving her infant daughter from beyond the grave. Beddoes also explains how, despite his atheist beliefs, he conformed to the explanation of a miracle having occurred, even considering the possibility of a religious influence. Lily, Lynn's 18-month-old infant daughter, the sole survivor of this tragedy, was rushed to Primary Children's Hospital in a stable condition, though this itself was a huge success that had been considered unlikely. The child had spent 14 hours hung upside down in the car, with no food, no water, and just a flannel onesie for warmth. The near-freezing water filled the car through broken windows, passing awfully close to the child's head. Her grandfather made a comment regarding her recovery 2 days after the accident, explaining how she was singing, laughing, and smiling, and particularly enjoying herself. He stated that the family were blown away by Lily's progress and so grateful to her rescuers in an interview. They also expressed their distress at the loss of Lynn, confirming what a wonderful mother she had been to Lily. The recovery of the infant has also been dubbed by some as miraculous. Whether you entirely believe in miracles, be it religious, spiritual, or otherwise formed, or if you are cynical and believe entirely in circumstances and coincidences, the recovery and success stories shared here are wonderful, even if an angel or the universe were not responsible for their happenings. But what do you make of these miracles shared today? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.